Despair, unparalleled despair, engulfed Deng Shintong. No matter how powerful his supernatural energy was, he could not fight endlessly. Am I really going to collapse here? Blood-red flames surrounded Deng Shintong, and the silver holy light on his body grew weaker and weaker. At this point, he had to admit one thing: he could no longer continue fighting. But on the brink of life and death, there was one thing he definitely figured out. That was why he would lose in this battle. It wasn't because he wasn't strong enough, but because... Puff! Phoenix Ren delivered a knee strike that directly impacted Deng Shintong's chest. Although he was protected by his battle armor, he still flew backwards dozens of meters and fell directly into the ruins. At this time, blood was gushing from his mouth, and he could barely lift his eyelids. In the corner of his eye, he saw Phoenix Ren walking towards him, and smiling like a demon. Ah, I get it, I finally understand what's going on. It turns out that from the beginning, I was the one they were after. Blood sputtered from Deng Shintong's mouth, and he didn't even have the strength to stand up. But... at least I have to bring back the information, he thought weakly. Phoenix Ren walked up to him, looking down on him in a condescending manner like a victor. Die! Deng Shintong closed his eyes, and a faint light flashed among his long silver hair. Just as Phoenix Ren was about to reach out and take his head, Deng Shintong's head exploded with a boom. An extremely terrifying force swept out, directly dispersing the fog for thousands of meters in all directions. The dense fog rolled back out, and the power was so strong that Phoenix Ren, who was in the center of the explosion, was killed again. A silver storm broke out in the center of Jiangning Square, like a silver ball quickly covering the sky, dazzling. But this dazzling and gorgeous light made the combat center of Blizzard City fall silent. They understood what this explosion meant. Every captain-level mutant had a small high-powered bomb placed on their head, which was jointly developed by the Deng Group and the Blizzard City Research Center and was extremely powerful. However, its purpose was not to kill the enemy, but to explode. Captain-level mutants were too powerful, so when they died, their origin must be ensured not to be devoured by the enemy. Therefore, the appearance of that huge silvery white light ball means that a captain-level mutant has fallen. The only captain-level mutant that appeared there was Deng Shintong. In other words, Deng Shintong is dead. There was complete silence in the combat center, and the staff there even forgot what they were doing. Several girls even fainted where they stood due to their inability to accept the truth. Deng Shintong's death marked the complete defeat of Blizzard City in this battle against Eclipse Moon. None of them could imagine that the Jiangnan region would lose in this battle. Amidst the shock of everyone there, none of them could help but secretly cast their eyes towards the old man on the podium. Zhu Jing was propping himself up with both hands, his body trembling and his strong shoulders twitching. Everyone knew that his expression at the moment must be terrifying. Yes, he didn't want his subordinates to see his hideous appearance. His face was already so distorted that it was frightening, his eyes were bloodshot, and even his mouth was bleeding from clenching his teeth so hard. The knuckles of his hands had turned white from the force of his grip, and his fingertips were scratching the chair, their nails about to turn over. Zhu Zheng's heart was on the verge of collapse. One of his elite troops had died in battle against a group of Ronin. More than half of the men below Captain were killed in battle, and yet the enemy is still rampaging across the land. This incident will become the biggest stain in his military career, one that is difficult to wash away. Commander Zhu. Lan Xingqing looked at Zhu Jing with some concern. He knew very well how much of a blow this incident had dealt to Zhu Jing. Zhu Jing lowered his head and said, word by word, immediately order all troops to withdraw. Immediately withdraw. His voice came out as if it were being squeezed through the crack of the doors, and he was gasping for breath. If he weren't in front of so many people, he was afraid he might lose his temper at this point. But he couldn't do that yet, because the battle wasn't over yet. He had to preserve what strength he had. No matter how painful a defeat was, as Commander Zhu, he couldn't afford to lose heart. Tu Yunlai said, Roger. He immediately ordered the 2 helicopters that were stationed there to return immediately. once Tu Yunlai had finished giving his orders, Zhu Jin could no longer control his anger. He tilted his neck back and smashed his fist onto the command platform. Prepare the Reaper of Love. Raise the entire Jiangning city and bury those bastards once and for all. Everyone was shocked. The Reaper of Love, their ultimate weapon, was really going to be used? When the eclipse moon first appeared, someone mentioned using the Reaper of Love to wipe them out directly. But this proposal was rejected by Zhu Jin. However, now, Zhu Jin, who was outraged, still chose this approach. Because he himself realized that in today's Jiangnan region, if even the Heavenly God Squad cannot destroy the eclipse moon, the only way to minimize the losses is to use the Reaper of Love. Otherwise, even if troops are sent to suppress them, the cost will be extremely high. On the workbench side, after receiving orders from Zhu Jin, someone immediately began working on opening the launch bay containing the Reaper of Love. Everyone in the command center was on thin ice. Although they had expected this day to come, this was still the first time such a weapon had been used in the country's history. This also officially marked the gradual loss of influence of thermal weapons in the world before the end of the world. Instead, it was the dominating power of top-notch mutants. In the words Eclipse Moon cast a shadow over everyone's hearts. Lan Xincheng reported to Zhu Jin, the Reaper of Love is ready. Jiangning Square Center. Phoenix Ren walked out of the thick fog. He looked a little weak. Although he could keep resurrecting, each resurrection required a great deal of energy. He was not truly immortal, but no one knew his limits. The body of Deng Shintong could no longer be found on the ground. The high-energy bomb had blown Deng Shintong's body to pieces, and a terrifying crater had appeared in the ground. In order to ensure that the origin of a captain-level character could be completely destroyed, the yield of such a bomb was also terrifying. Incidentally, it made it a means of mutual destruction. In the end, I'm the one who wins, you bastard. He won with great difficulty. If he hadn't known in advance about Deng Shintong's abilities and been prepared, he would probably really have died at Deng Shintong's hands this time. The investigation squad captains of Blizzard City are indeed monsters. Phoenix Rain took a deep breath. His body surface radiated a red, blazing heat wave, helping him to withstand the extremely cold temperature. In the distance, Mayumi Takeuchi, who had been kneeling on the ground divining, suddenly covered her mouth and coughed violently. Miss Takeuchi. Satoru Shimano hurriedly supported her body. A few streaks of bright red blood flowed out between her fingers, and Mayumi Takeuchi's face became increasingly pale. At this time, even her skin began to become somewhat transparent, almost like a patient suffering from excessive blood loss. Her entire arm had turned purple due to the continuous bleeding and the invasion of cold poison, and it had become useless. Blood kept spilling from Mayumi Takeuchi's mouth. Satoru Shimano suddenly thought of something. You must have overdrawn on your blood because you helped the captain fight, right? Mayumi Takeuchi struggled to release her grip and said to Satoru Shimano, hurry, tell everyone to leave here immediately, they have to leave right away. There is a very big danger coming. Satoru Shimano saw Mayumi Takeuchi's anxious expression and suddenly understood something. He closed his eyes and began contacting all the surviving members of Eclipse Moon. He told them to quickly gather and leave the area. Phoenix Rim arrived as soon as he could. After listening to Satoru Shimano's words, he said without hesitation, it seems that the other party is going to use a weapon of mass destruction to cleanse the area. Leave here immediately. The members of Eclipse Moon who received Satoru Shimano's signal immediately began to return. After gathering together, they realized that they had lost 5 people in the battle, which was truly tragic. No one had expected such an outcome. In the past, as long as they followed Mayumi Takeuchi's predictions, no one had ever died. But this time, they had lost nearly half of their team. Everyone was a little confused, but since Mayumi Takeuchi had fainted, there was no way to ask her. They could only follow her prophecy and get the hell out of there. Satoru Shimano found the car and all the team members got in without a moment's delay and left Jiangning Square. As they were leaving, they heard the sound of helicopter blades in the distance. Phoenix Ren couldn't help but look up at the sky. He had a feeling that he would meet these guys again soon. What a fierce battle. So many people have died, we can't continue fighting anymore. Leader, what are we going to do now? Are we going to continue moving forward? Jinguji Saikiro looked at Phoenix Ren and asked. Phoenix Ren rested one arm on the car window and his gaze fell on Mayumi Takeuchi. She had overdrawn her strength for this battle and even lost the use of her arm. We must find a healing mutant to heal her. Mayumi Takeuchi is the source of Eclipse Moon, and she must not be lost. No, we also need to take a temporary break. But this time, we are the ones who won. Phoenix Ren looked a little haggard at the moment, but his eyes were still filled with a fanatical light. Blizzard City has taken a big enough hit this time. They don't have any troops left to use against us. And next time, I'm going to give them an even bigger surprise. Jinguji Saikiro couldn't help but glance at him sideways, his eyes full of the same disgust as always. Oh? What are you going to do now? We don't have any help. We will. He gave a mysterious smile, and his laughter grew louder and louder in the snowfield, carried away by the wind.